Today we're going to be going over some data that I've pulled from Printify and eRank, and we'll be creating some designs for a coffee mug and for an ornament in Canva that you can use to sell on your shop. And we're also going to be tying in the element of personalization. According to Printify's profit predictor, the top industries that are estimated to be selling based on the past several holiday seasons and the current trends that we have this year are going to be t-shirts, sweatshirts, home decor, and coffee mugs. And then the three top colors that sell during the holiday season are sand, red, and forest green. And so some of the top listings on Etsy for the holidays incorporate three main things. The first is personalization. And then, of course, as we already talked, red, white, and green are very common colors. And then finally, sand is probably the most interesting color to have during the holidays. It's a popular color, one, for the base design, and it's also a really popular style for the mock-up. For coffee mugs, there are four main things that tend to be trending for coffee mugs. First and foremost is, again, personalization. And then it's going into the cute Christmas animals. One trend that I have noticed is that coffee mugs are not necessarily just for adults anymore. There are a lot of people who buy custom Christmas animal coffee mugs for their kids or for their grandkids. And so if you're building custom coffee mugs for the holidays this year, try to tie in a little bit into the cute Christmas theme. For the fonts for the coffee mugs, the most common are the flowing holiday fonts. So script fonts are great, cursive fonts are great. And then finally, for the coffee mugs, the traditional red color is the most popular color for coffee mugs for both the design and the product-based color. So whether that's a mug with a red handle, red interior, like the accent mug from District Photo or from Imagine Your Photos, that is one way to tie in that red color into your holiday designs, is just changing the product-based color as well. And then for ornaments are a little bit more interesting, but it is something that we can do for print on demand, and that is family name ornaments. A really popular custom ornament to purchase during the holidays are ornaments that you are able to customize with your family's names. And this name doesn't necessarily just include the humans in your family. A lot of people also like to be able to incorporate some of their pets into the ornament as well. So as you're building your ornaments, and you'll see this later when we're building ours, people are including both the family names and their pet names, and they're all tying them together to make a family ornament. And so that's the most popular ornament that you will find over the holidays. The other parts that people like to customize for ornaments are customizable names and photos. And then finally, the shapes that sell the most during the holidays are trees and circles, which we are able to do both through Printify. And then finally, for the colors for ornaments, there's two main trends that I've noticed for the ornaments. One is you have just simple design colors. For example, you have like one or two colors, and these are often paired with wood textures. So if your branding style is not more of the pastels or the bright Christmas colors, you might be able to tie into this specific trend that we have here. We have wooden ornaments that we can customize on Printify. So another trending way to tie into the ornaments is to use that wood ornament with just some simple basic colors. And then if your brand allows you to do more of the brighter, more varied colors for the ornament, floral boho styles. So example, these are the ornaments that have that floral border on the outside. These are often paired with the Christmas colors and the pastels of the Christmas colors. Now, I did pull a little bit of inspiration from Etsy. All right, so these are the top 5 listings on Etsy that I found specifically for custom coffee mugs. And yes, one of these is not custom, the holiday cheer, but it is tying in those base colors. And this is one thing that I recommend doing as you're building your holiday gifts and your products, and really something to do for any season that you're designing products for, is to go onto Etsy, Amazon, Pinterest, and just pull some ideas, some inspiration, and build a mood board. And then one thing that you can do is you can pull the colors. So for example, here on the bottom right, I have the top 5 colors from all of these listings, and we'll be using those colors as inspiration to build our Christmas listings. And so This is just to give you a little bit of inspiration as you're building your listings as well. Again, you notice that the cute Christmas animals, the snowman, and a little bit of the reindeer are very popular. And again, they're all tied in with children's names. They're all very kid styled. And so again, that trend of a hot chocolate mug does tend to peak during the holiday season. So that may be something to tie into if you're starting to build some of these custom children's coffee mugs. And then finally, I also pulled some inspiration for some ornaments, and again, pulled the top 5 colors. Now again, some of these we can't do with print on demand. For example, the wood cutout ones we can't do, but we can still take inspiration from the mock-up styles and also from the fonts that they're using. So for example, we have some sans serif font that we've got here. We have some of that flowing font that I was talking about earlier. And then if we're looking at the printed ones, a big trend that I've noticed is a watercolor Christmas style. And so we will be building that for our ornament later. But just as we're going into this and building the different styles and ornaments, and as you're building yours, take some time to sit down and find some of the top trending listings. Find something that fits with your brand, that people are buying, and use it to build some inspiration. Now, it is important to keep in mind that you cannot use these exact designs. These are designs that other people have created, and it would be wrong to copy them directly. And so just make sure as you're pulling inspiration that you're not accidentally copying any elements of the design either. All right, so let's go ahead and let's move over to actually building in Canva. So let's go ahead and we're going to build our coffee mugs. And if you've got Canva, feel free to pull that up and follow along as well. Again, like I said, most of the elements that I'm using today are free elements. Some of them are not, so you may have to vary how you're doing yours. But just to help you get along and get a little bit of a feel, get into the holiday inspiration. All right, so one thing that we were noticing for the Christmas coffee mugs is the trend of the cute Christmas animal. And so let's just do a little bit of digging into let's just do a little bit of Christmas searching. Let's just take a look and get just a little bit of inspiration from the elements that are already here in Canva. And so let's just take a little bit of a look here. We are wanting to tie into that cute Christmas animal trend. So we have the reindeer. And then of course the other popular ones, you have the little Santas, or you have the penguins, which we will be tying into the penguin trend today. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the social media trend that's presently raging on social media right now with the penguins. So as you're building your Christmas listings, it might not be a bad idea to have a variation of penguins for some of your Christmas designs. Now let's go ahead and let's make our search a little bit more specific, and let's look for some specific Christmas animals. So we want some penguins, and these penguins are fitting that vibe fairly well. And they're also free elements, which is another thing to keep in mind if you don't have Canva Pro. So let's just take a little bit more look at the other styles we have here. You can also tie it in with some pet ornaments. So if you're able to offer like cats or dogs in specific variations, you can offer that as another personalized listing on Etsy as well. But let's go ahead and let's just build it with that penguin, tying into the penguin trend that's all over social media right now. All right. Now I did go ahead and set up the canvas as 3000 by 3000 pixels, so you should have plenty of design space and design quality. I also went ahead and copied over the colors from our mood board, so we have those just to give them as inspiration. We don't exactly have to follow them, but just to give us a little bit of an idea of what we can build. All right, so let's go ahead and tie into the trend of hot chocolate. Another thing that spikes during the holidays are chocolate sales. So let's add a little bit of that chocolate element to our design as well. And so one thing you want to look for when building things with building a design with different elements on Canva is you want to find elements that look like part of the same style. For example, this mint hot chocolate mug fits this design style fairly well versus some of these other ones that don't fit that same aesthetic. And so as you're building your holiday listings and your graphics, make sure that the elements that you're choosing to put have that same aesthetic. And that's really going to help tie your design all together. Let's go ahead. I really like that mint chocolate mug, so let's try that. We're going to help tie that in. The colors are contrasting well with the penguin, which I am really liking. You want to take a look at both color complements and color contrasts in your designs. But this thing's missing, we're missing a little bit of something for this design. We need a little bit more personality with it. This coffee mug has a snowflake on it, so let's do a little bit of digging and see if we can find that exact snowflake to add as a little bit of an accent to our penguin design. So just do a little bit of digging, taking a look at the options we have. This one is very similar. Take a look if there's any other styles. And the best part is with these, there's another one. Best part about these snowflakes is you can change them to whatever color that you're planning to use. These ones are looking pretty similar. So let's go ahead and let's add these in as another variation to add to our design. And the more detail you have in design that's not going a little too much, that gives you another variation that you can make for your listing. For example, and I'll explain a little bit more what I mean by that in a moment. Let's go ahead and let's change the color of this snowflake to complement the color of the mug. And again, if you're not familiar with Canva, you can select the color button up here, select add a new color, and then you can click the eyedropper down here to pick a color already on your palette. So you can pick any of the colors on here to help accent your design and keeping it all within the same color palette that you have going. All right, so that darker mint is looking good. Let's add a couple more just to help tie in the style. All right, so this is looking okay. It's tying in. I like how this is coming together. I like the colors. I like the style. Now we need to start adding the personalized elements to the design. So let's go ahead, select them all and group them all together so we don't lose anything as we're dragging it around. And let's try to find that flowing font that I was talking about for the names on this mug. So head on over to text and then add a text box, and let's just add a name in here. Say Annie, why not? And let's just size that up so it's fitting and change the color so we can obviously, well, see it. And now let's take a look for the font. And one of the beautiful things about Canva is their abundance of fonts that they have. So let's try looking for script. Let's take a look for some script fonts and see if we can find anything like that flowing font that we saw earlier on the ornament. Something that feels festive, that's a little bit of a thicker script so it's not too thin and it prints well. Something you can still read even though it's cursive. I'm not seeing any of the thicker fonts that we were seeing in the trends. So let's try looking at cursive. Let's try cursive. Let's try another search and see if we can find another font that will help fit that flowing festive style a little bit better. This is more of the font that we're looking for. Fonts like these are often really popular during the holidays. They've got that thick brush stroke, but they also feel festive. And so you'll see fonts like this in a lot of the trending custom products on Etsy and on other platforms. And that one is called Rusher. Let's keep looking to see if there's anything else. We need something just a little bit more frilly, I think. Oh, let's try this one. There we go. That's what we're looking for. All right, so this font, if you guys are planning to use it in your design, it's called Joshiko, is what it's called. It is a premium font, so you will have to have Canva Pro to use this specific one. But this is all tying together really well, and it also gives us a little bit of a template to build other variations for our coffee mugs. So let's go ahead and let's build another variation of this style for a second listing or as a second variation option on that Etsy listing that you have. So another option we can do is you can always just change the color of the font. Even a simple change like that is something that people will appreciate. Or we can even take the next step of changing the design entirely. For example, let's try switching out this penguin with one of the other penguins that we saw in the Elements tab. So let's try looking for that penguin again, and let's see if we can find one that's of the same style and fits that same aesthetic, but still feels complementary to the design as a variation that someone could choose. Oh, here it is. And again, this is a free element, so you're able to use this without having a Canva Pro subscription. And if we tie this one in, you will often have to make changes to your design to make it tie in together. But you will, all it took was maybe an extra 30 seconds, and you've already have another listing that you could have for Etsy already. So you could have one type of coffee mug, you could have a second coffee mug already, you can change the font color, or the graphic. And from just this simple template, you can build several other holiday listings and help tie into that holiday trend that we keep seeing. All right, so that's just a little bit of just a quick build of a custom holiday coffee mug. If you guys do have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I will get back to them when we go to the Q&A session, but go ahead and feel free to put those in as we're going to be moving into the ornaments. Now, one trend that we did see a lot on Etsy and on Printify and also through eRank on trending is some of the top holiday listings were either tree-shaped or circle-shaped, like I mentioned before. And both of these are shapes that we can use through print on demand because of the variety of ornaments that Printify has to offer. So let's build a custom family name ornament using the tree shape. And it's important to keep in mind that sometimes people like buying these in bundles. And so people will often want to order a family ornament that has all of the names on it. And then they might want to order individual ornaments with the individual names on them by themselves. So this might be a good bundle listing idea for any of you that are doing bundle listing on Etsy's or family listings as well. So this is one way to tie that in with the holiday trends and the personalization element. So before we get started though, let's go ahead and build a Christmas pattern background to use for our ornaments. That way we're not using just a single ornament, a single pattern that's already built in Canva. And so the design is completely new. It is something that nobody else has done, and it's your creation. So let's go ahead. The trend that we noticed the most was the watercolor Christmas. So let's take a look at the watercolor Christmas and build that background off of that. All right, and let's start by tying in some of the more popular graphic elements that we see during the holidays. For example, we have the holly, we have Christmas gifts and presents, we have the Christmas bells. You can also tie in with the stockings. You can also make some other variations as well for the Christian community, because a big part of the holidays is the invitation to go to church for Christmas Eve and on Christmas Day. And so that's another thing that you can tie into, is add that Christian element to your designs. Make a custom holiday element that is specifically for that demographic. So that might be another way to tie into another demographic that you may have not have previously thought about tying into. But let's go ahead and let's make this ornament some of more of the mainstream Christmas styles. So we have the normal Christmas wrapping, you have the traditional Christmas stockings and the Christmas bells. You also have the Christmas holly. I saw one of those up here that would tie in well. And then of course you have the Christmas star. So let's just go ahead, find some Christmas watercolor elements, and let's just spread these out over here. And this will be shrunk down into a grid of 4. So even though if it's not really that big right now, we should be able, it'll look more full once we shrink it down and add some more copies of this pattern. For now, let's just keep it real simple. You just have the 5 elements, and that looks pretty simple and straightforward. But let's go ahead and group these together so that we don't lose their positioning as we move them around. And then we need to start building the grid for our pattern. This is going to be a 2x2 grid. And so if you have rulers turned on in your Canva, in your canvas, then you can just drag a ruler onto the page. You can also just go up to File and turn on your rulers as well. But if you click and hold on the ruler, you can drag one to the middle, and it should snap to the middle of the canvas. And so from here, we have an even 2x2 space that we can use to shrink down our design and help make that repeating pattern for the ornaments. And we can just copy this for each different section of the canvas. All right, so now we have our Christmas background for our ornaments. So now let's go ahead and start tying in the names for the element for the listing for people to customize. But before you do that, especially if you don't want to accidentally bump your background or your current designs, make sure to select them all, go up to the More button, and lock the pattern down. That way, when you're dragging and selecting, you won't click and you can't move them. All right, so now let's add a text box, and let's just add in our list of names that people can customize. And it is important, I would have, for your listing photos, have a photo of just a couple names and then one of the maximum amount of names that you can do, so that your customers kind of have an idea of whether or not all of their names will fit on the ornament without having to send you a message to find out. So let's just go ahead and type some name. And this font is not, we're going to change the font. This font will not work. And again, we're going to be tying in that element of the pet with the name on the bottom. You can also add in little elements like paw prints or whiskers to the names of pets. People especially like some way to remember their pets during the holidays. So if you have a way to tie that into your custom ornaments, I would recommend doing so. But let's go ahead and let's find a different font that fits with this style. A common font theme that works well with the holiday ornaments is a thin font, and there is a specific one that I like using. It's called Amatic SC. This is a free font that you can use, but there are also a lot of other thin fonts you can use as well. It's just important. One of the hardest things when designing is finding a font that works well with the design you're building. And so an easy way to do that is to, one, start searching on Etsy and Pinterest, Amazon, just getting some ideas. And then you can also go to fontspace.com, and they have free fonts available for download for both commercial and personal use. And these are completely unique fonts that you can use in your designs. But they also have a wide variety of styles. So if you're not finding the font you're looking for on Canva or in Adobe, if you're using Photoshop or Illustrator, visit fontspace.com and see if you can find that font that you're looking for to help finish that design all together. All right, so now let's just fix the spacing here. One thing to keep in mind is when you're building a specific shape of an ornament, you do want to have a copy of what that ornament shape is. So I went ahead and I took a screenshot of the ornament from Printify, and what you can do is you can layer it between your text and your pattern layer and drop the transparency so that you have that margin to work with. One of the worst things to have to do is to spend hours on creating designs, export them all to your computer, upload them to Printify, and find out that they don't fit because the sizing wasn't right. So make sure as you're building this that you do have that reference, because you don't want to have to keep redoing that over and over again. All right, so it looks like the text will fit in here fairly well. We could probably fit some more names in here if you wanted to. But if you notice, you can read the text fairly well, but if we remove the background, you can't read it because of the darker colors right behind the black text. There are two ways that you can fix a problem like this where the background is either too light or too dark and you can't read the text. The first is to just add an effect. And so select on the text and go to Effects, and you can add either an outline with that same background color, or you can add a background with that same background color. However, there's one thing to keep in mind. If you do have that same background color and you leave that spread really wide, it will cut off your pattern in the background. And so a lot of our pattern is being lost because of this. And the same thing will happen with the outline as well, especially if you have to expand the outline in some way. You'll start to lose your design in the background. So there's another way that you can fix this that I do recommend doing if this method is not working for you. Go ahead and go to Elements and add a square. Size it to the same shape as the canvas. And then change it to that same background color, whether you need it lighter or darker. In our case, we need this color to be a little bit lighter. So if we drop that behind, and then drop the transparency. And this will still let you see the elements, but they're muted down a little so that you can still read the text. And that's really important, especially if this is hanging on a tree or in another form of decoration. If the color contrast is too sharp, your customer will not be able to read the text at all, and then it won't be a customer that will want to come back and buy it again the next year because it didn't turn out the way they wanted. And so that's just one way that you can fix that. And already this ornament is looking pretty good. Other variations that you can make is to add a little bit, add the year, maybe add Christmas, maybe some custom text, maybe again tie in that pet element by adding in some paw prints. That's some other ways that you can help tie in some other variations that your customers may appreciate. But one other thing that you do want to create if you're building a family name ornament is also have the option for just a single name ornament that matches this style. So that's super simple to do. Just duplicate your page so everything stays the same, and then just change the name to the name that you want to have on there. The other option is to create an initial. So you can just have the first initial of the name. You can also vary this up if you want to add like a stocking cap to it. You can add that or some other elements to the initial to help customize it. And then if you want to add some text to help match the style, we can add a curve, especially if you're doing this on a round ornament. So for example, say your customer wanted to have Christmas 2024 on the bottom. Well, you can go over to Effects and click Curve, and then edit the curve percentage to fit the shape of the ornament that you are creating. That way it's all together and it's all tied together as well. And already we have built 2 listings that you could use for the holidays to sell. And it's very simple to just build another variation off of this as well. So already with just these few that we've built here with these 2, and then the variations of the hot chocolate mugs that we built as well, you can already build several. I would almost argue you could probably build 10 to 20 more listings off of this same template and get those up to help start tying into the holiday trend and get in on that Q4 sales and profits.